All right. Hey, welcome everybody. If you're out there in internet land, we're back with game time with Doc and Lurch, and
Heyo.
we're here with all your information on the Nerdosphere. Uh, let's see here. Just getting my chats up and ready. Going to do a real quick sound check. So let's see here. I've got to refresh that.
Do 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 do.
Not showing that we're streaming yet. Okay. Yeah. Check one two. Check one two. Yeah.
Do do do
Check
do
one two.
do
Check one
do do
two.
do do. Do do do
Check
do
one two.
do
Check
do
one
do
two.
do do. Do do do
Check
do
one two.
do
Check
do
one
do
two.
do do. Do do do
Check
do
one two.
do.
Check one. Okay, let me try without you because I can't hear me over you.
Mm,
For you.
mm,
Check one two. Check one two. For you.
mm.
Check one two. Check one two. For you. Okay, yeah, your do 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 was echoing so much that it kept drowning me out.
Oh no. Whoops.
That's okay.
Whoop.
I'm gonna close the chat monitor and open it again because when I refresh the page, sometimes it doesn't let the
Ah.
update to pop out.
Do 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 do.
All right. Anyway, we've got a show for you here today where, for those who don't know, we are part of Eclectic Endeavors, the people that bring you the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo. The last one of which will be here in October. As you can see on the screen, we've got the dates there. It's October 14th, 15th, and 16th. This will be the 12th game, although if we had not skipped during COVID, it would actually be the 14th. And what we're actually, no, it would be like the 15th because we didn't do it in 2020 or 2021. So yeah, it'd be the 15th one if we had not skipped because we did the 11th one, then we skipped 2 years.
Well, it's 2022 now. So 2020 would have been 12, and then 2021 would have been 13. So 2022 would have been 14. So you're right at first, the first time.
Oh, okay, yeah, 12, 13. Yep, okay, 14. Yeah, it's the 14th one. If we were in, right, I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, that's okay. Thinking's not my strong part. I've slept since then. Uh, anyway, what we do is we try to promote the educational side of these glorious hobbies in the state of nerddom. Everything from voiceover acting and acting in general to comic book art and graphic novels to Kickstarter business startups and, of course, everybody's favorite electronic and tabletop gaming, uh, just to name several things, and costume and prop design. So there's all kinds of different ways that these nerdy hobbies uh, add to the education out there, and they're part of various fandoms, and you can later on parlay that into actually a job. Before you never really thought of that as a potential career builder, but now we have a personal friend who we don't have the permission to give their name out, but they're working for the WB now, and we are so proud, so proud of our friend working with the WB, and that just is an example of what you can do, starting with these humble beginnings. So we do everything we can to promote the educational side of things by promoting after school nerd clubs. We've done scholarships in the nerdy arts before and things of that nature. This will be, of course, the last game. So this year we're not really looking to make any extra money because we're just trying to break even and pay off the bills. So we're only going to charge $10 for the entire weekend. That's a heck of a deal for a weekend full of gaming and nerdy fun. So come on out. There's no special day prices or anything because it's just $10. We really can't go lower than that. You can still volunteer and get in free as well if you do enough volunteer hours. Um, Join Eclectic Endeavors, the group on Facebook, if you're interested in volunteering, and you'll be notified of when our next meeting is. We do some live meetings and some virtual meetings depending on what people can comfortably handle, and you can volunteer that way, and we can let you know what we need from you as volunteers. The lion's share of the volunteering, of course, happens during the event itself. When we take a whole lot of people to put on this convention, and I mean, there's a bunch of us board of director people out there behind the scenes already. I mean, I'm the panelist board member. Philip is co-chair and director of electronic gaming. Greg Pullman, who used to be one of our hosts here until his schedule got overly full, he is director of tabletop gaming. John McDonald was vice chair. Just as examples of some of the many people, we've got Ralphie Saeed, who's in charge of henchmen. In the past, we've had like treasurer and stuff, Tanisa Hall. We've had lots of different people have been involved with the putting on of this convention, and so this being our last year, we're only going to put on those parts of the convention that we have volunteers to run. So if you have a favorite part of the convention and you see that we haven't got it scheduled, you can volunteer and possibly be the person to run that part of the convention this year, so we can still put it on. Like right now, we do not have any plans for the costume contest or the art contest because we don't currently have people volunteering to run that aspect of the shows. But if you're interested in those particular parts, of course, if you're directing it, you can't compete in it, just a reminder. But if you would like to see the costume contest or the art contest happen, you can volunteer your time to help make it so. As they say on Star Trek, #1, make it so. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about this week. We don't have as much as far as our normal media coverage because, as I mentioned last week, Superman and Lois and Naomi took the week off for the March Madness basketball games, I guess. We're not really covering Naomi as much right now anyway until this show picks up on the action a little bit. It has to pick up before we can really justifiably spend time on a show with it. But we're going to still cover the rest of the DC Universe as best we can for TV shows. And, of course, we've got some starting up Marvel shows again coming real soon here. Moon Knight starts at the end of the month at Marvel. So we'll be covering things like that. And I, of course, mentioned Picard and Severance and other things of those natures during the show. So let's kick things off. As usual, I usually let my co-host Lurch start us off. And he's going to tell us something having to do with the Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, so this kind of caught me off guard. It's a smaller story, but I thought this was pretty interesting. They're adding Snoop Dogg as a playable character in Call of Duty Vanguard. Well, Vanguard and Warzone and mobile.
It's the D-O-double-G.
He'll be available through the Snoop Dogg Operator Bundle during Season 2 Reloaded, which begins this week. I am a little out of date on Call of Duty. I used to play Call of Duty all the time. I'm a little behind on it now. They did have his voice appear in the past. He lent his voice to Call of Duty Ghosts years back, but he wasn't a playable character for that.
Was that Call of Duty Ghost Recon or whatever?
No, it was just Ghosts. Ghost Recon is a Tom Clancy title.
Oh, that's Tom Clancy. Okay. I don't follow the shooters. You know me.
So it says that players can buy the bundle to play as this. The way they describe him on here makes me laugh. Players can buy the bundle to play as the Super Bowl 56 halftime show performer and unlock new items and cosmetics for him. Let's be real. No one under 50 thinks of him as the Super Bowl 56 halftime show performer.
No, if anything, they think of him from the Corona commercials right now. He does a lot of the Corona commercials. He's like, yeah.
The beer, not the disease.
Right. Like,
yeah, those have been pretty amusing commercials. But yeah, I mean, it's funny that they describe him as like they could have described him as so many things. The Corona drinks spokesman. They could have described him as play as the Do double G. You could have described him as the rapper, obvious one,
The
or
rapper,
rapper
yeah.
superstar,
Oh,
rapper superstar.
oh,
I mean, who?
the cannabis proponent who is
Yeah,
very
yeah,
cannabis forward. Yeah, it's the
yeah.
Do double
The
G,
man who got away with smoking weed in the White House, which for some reason then people were surprised that he smoked at the Super Bowl. If the man's gonna smoke at the White House, he's gonna smoke at the Super Bowl.
He gonna smoke.
Yeah, he gonna smoke. If he's there, he's gonna smoke. No.
Hey, the comedian Fluffy even talks about how he smoked out right in front of him and his kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I try to do the Snoop Dogg impressions, the Do double G.
I like this. I like this quote from Snoop Dogg that he said. Well, Snoop Dogg said in a blog post, "The Do double G is back in Call of Duty, and this time I'm in the freaking game. Excited to be working with the COD team to bring some fly features for all of you to enjoy. It's dope. Y'all can play as me and get these sick items that have Snoop written all over them." I don't know if you know this. He is quite an avid gamer himself. He has a streaming channel where he plays video games all the time.
Oh yes, he is a big gamer, and he
Yeah.
likes the first-person shooters, yo. He's big into like Halo, for instance. He likes Halo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about him playing Halo many times. What does he do? He did the Gangsta Paradise and shit.
It also says here that there will also be a full operator progression track for Snoop, giving players 20 levels to work through to unlock more content, including a weapon, outfits, and cosmetics. Activision's holding back the full details on what's included in the Snoop Dogg operator bundle for a later date. So, they did give some information. Snoop is wearing a 24-karat gold outfit in Call of Duty Mobile. Has a gold-plated and diamond-encrusted legendary SMG. Additionally, Snoop has a death effect that sprays out the lights of a mini concert. More details will be announced later. I've kind of fallen out of it, and I'm not like I think Snoop Dogg's it seems like a pretty cool dude, right? Like I don't have any of his albums. It's not really my music genre, but I have no complaints about Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying?
I'm starting to visualize a parody, man. It's like as I plug in my console to play my game. What's it?
So, yeah, I just thought this was a fun little add-on that they're putting in here. For anyone that's a Snoop Dogg fan or just appreciates the novelty that they're throwing into Call of Duty,
that's an
go for it.
interesting lead up into my next one because, of course, Snoop Dogg had Gangsta's Paradise, which was parodied and it was a big controversy from Weird Al Yankovic. And my next story is about how Daniel Radcliffe has been recruited by Weird Al himself to play Weird Al in a biopic by the Roku Channel as a Roku Channel original of Weird Al Yankovic and his life and the controversial times that he went through. Daniel Radcliffe was doing I first found it on a Facebook post where he was being interviewed by what's name used to be Saturday Night Live. Can't think of his name right now, but anyway, he was talking and how second day of casting, Weird Al Yankovic loaned him his accordion to practice with for the month, so he got to practice with Weird Al's accordion. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, that alone is pretty. Well, it wasn't like the second day that he got it. He got it like the first day. The second day he had it, he broke the strap on it. So, but yeah, he was he had the use of Weird Al's own personal accordion and took accordion lessons from Weird Al during the production of the film. And I guess he caught Weird Al Yankovic's attention because back in like 2015, Daniel Radcliffe was on a BBC show, and he sang the Element song, but from Tom Lure, from, of course, the Dr. Demento. You know, because Tom Lure was a comedian who did the Element songs, where you basically fastly sing all the elements in the periodic table.
Yeah.
And Daniel Radcliffe, he had said in that, because I saw that interview actually before they even mentioned it. And
Was it on Jimmy Fallon?
What?
Was that interview on Jimmy Fallon where he sang the whole?
He did it again on Jimmy
song?
Fallon, but this one was in the BBC.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Fallon was the one that was interviewing him about the movie. That's who I couldn't think of at the beginning. But no, he was on a BBC show, and he was saying how it was like his favorite song, and then he went and broke into the Elements song and did it from memory. And let me tell you, I'm a parody singer, and I can't do the Elements song from memory. I can do some Tom Lure, but not that one. It's too fast. Too convoluted. So it was pretty impressive to see Daniel Radcliffe doing this. And when Weird Al saw that, he's like, okay, he gets it. So he was the right person to play him. And later on in this article here from Vanity Fair, where Weird Al is quoted as saying that he can see this being the I'm absolutely thrilled that Daniel Radcliffe will portray me in the film. I have no doubt whatsoever that this is the role future generations will remember him for. Which is pretty much big words considering he was Harry Potter.
Yeah.
If you want to eclipse Harry Potter, I mean, I'm a Weird Al fan, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to eclipse Harry Potter, you're doing some shit right there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be great to see. I mean, there's no talk about when it's actually going to come out. But I guess filming started in February. And, I mean, you see him side by side with Daniel Radcliffe. I don't see a huge resemblance, but I guess if you give him a long curly wig, Daniel Radcliffe might be able to pull off Weird Al visually. But what's going to matter is the actual playing of the character.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think I've mentioned before at other times when Weird Al has come up on the show, I'm from the part of California where Weird Al went to college, and my old gaming conventions before I moved out to Missouri were in the college that Weird Al Yankovic produced My Bologna in, which Cal Poly State University in California, in Paso Robles. So I'm a huge Weird Al fan, and I've seen him in concert, and he is one of the biggest Grammy winners. He's the highest paid comedian pretty much out there right now. He was the first comedy album ever to premiere in the top 200 music history. I mean, the man is amazing, and it's actually a watch phrase in the musical industry now that you don't truly know you've made it in music until Weird Al parodies one of your songs. And once Weird Al parodies one of your songs, you have made it. I mean, if you're a one-hit wonder and he parodies your song, you've made it still because Weird Al parodied one of your songs. I mean, it's a benchmark now in the music industry. And there are a lot of parody artists out there, you know, Cletus T. Jug for country, and, you know, or Ray Stevens. They both do kind of parody stuff. But Weird Al Yankovic, if he does your song in parody, you can start writing your own ticket because you've made it in the music industry. And so for him to get a name like Daniel Radcliffe, which I recently also saw another interview from Radcliffe, how he was pointing out that he didn't even know how much money he had made during the Harry Potter movies, because his mom kept that all squirreled away in bank accounts, and then
Okay.
until he was 19 when he got access to it. Then at 19 he had access to almost 90 million pounds, uh, and the pound is stronger than the U.S. dollar, so that's over $90 million worth of money that he had made while doing those movies. And he still lives a very frugal life and puts all of his money in investments. The only thing he spends his money on sometimes, his one expensive hobby, is collecting rare books, which is, hey, that's a nerd hobby right there. So he is a true member of our clan, man.
Nerd.
He is a
You
true member
freaking
of our
nerd.
clan. Uh,
Oh
uh,
well, you
and
nerd hair.
that's right. So this is going to be exciting to see when it comes out. It will be a Roku channel exclusive. Now, luckily, I have a Roku TV and have Roku channel on mine automatically. So, and Roku channel is a free service anyway, so everybody should be able to get to see it.
For some reason, I'm paying $2 a month to Roku, and I have no idea why.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't
That is
know.
weird.
I don't even know what Roku has. It's $2 a month.
Yeah, I don't know either, because most of their stuff is free. Do you get the Roku stuff without commercials, maybe?
I don't even have Roku.
You might
I
have
did have
that.
Roku. I used to have Roku, but I don't anymore. I haven't for like a year.
Maybe the cancel
Um,
didn't go 100% through and they still kept something.
yeah,
Okay,
but
as a follow up to this, and this is still part of this actually, because it was on Vanity, I saw this as I was closing out the article. It's not directly related to this, but I did want to mention that there was an article about how the Batman is the beginning of the Warner Brothers 2022 theatrical hopes, because they did that Project Popcorn in 2021 where all their movies went directly to HBO Max and theaters at the same time, simulcast. And that really hurt their bottom line as far as movies and revenues went. Um, Batman is the first real WB to come out in theaters since that. But like, for instance, huge perspective hits like the fourth Matrix movie absolutely bombed as far as theatrical numbers went. And part of that was attributed to the fact that it had direct release to subscription services, which made it to where it wasn't much of a draw to theaters. And the other part is the fact that it released at the same time as Spider-Man No Way Home. And that's a hard one to compete with. But if you look at the DC lineup that's coming out, that's the main thing I wanted to do this article before we jump ahead to our next one. We had Batman on March 4th. Then we have Fantastic Beasts coming up on April 15th. League of Super Pets in May 20th. Elvis, I haven't even heard anything about that, on June 24th. But the Black Adam in July 29th, and I think everybody's looking forward to Black Adam.
yeah,
The remake of Salem's Lot in September. The Flash in November. And Aquaman the Lost Kingdom in December. So this is the the WB rather, lineup. And because they lost so much money that a lot of the back end gross payouts that were guaranteed to some of the celebrities put them in the red, because the movie didn't even make enough to cover that, and HBO Max, Warner Brothers, Time Warner had to cover that, and they're being sued by some companies because of it, because they didn't make the gross that they normally would have made if it had gone to theaters. And Spider-Man proved that even with COVID out, you could go to theaters and make money because Spider-Man broke all kinds of records. So
Yeah.
and Sing 2 is still going strong in theaters, and that's an animated flick. It could have easily gone to stream and probably been okay, but it went to theaters and made good money. People were coming out to theaters to watch an animated feature, and that's something during the COVID pandemic. Um, HBO Max and Warner Brothers may have made a misstep with that Project Popcorn. Uh,
I
just
benefited from it, but
Yeah, so
it's
did I.
unfortunate to see it didn't work out for
Because
them.
I wasn't going to go out to theaters as much because I've got a lowered immune system and everything,
Yeah.
and so I was thankful that stuff was going to HBO Max directly. But unfortunately, what benefited me did not benefit their bottom line. Luckily, I think some of the movies are starting to make their money up now in digital sales through Vudu and stuff, and additional viewings on streaming services to kind of show their popularity. But like me and Lurch were talking about before we started broadcasting. You took the family to go see a movie. That's 4 tickets at anywhere from $8 to like $14+ a piece, not counting snack foods. And
Yeah.
where you could do it at home and invite like 30 of your closest friends to watch it on the big screen, and they still only see one viewing as far as their monitoring goes, and they only made $15 a month from HBO Max, so it's a
Yeah.
big difference in income.
I mean, heck, even if you watch the movie 10 times in the month, if you
You
only,
still only paid $15. Yeah,
yeah,
your whole family, all their friends, and all their friends could come over and watch it, and you're still only paying $15 for it. And of course, some people share out their HBO passwords and stuff with friends and family. It's a shared account. And
$15, little man. Put that shit in my
in my
hands.
hand. Yep. Jay and Silent Bob, yo. Okay. But yeah, so that was just a quick variety follow up since it's on the same site where I found the best article about the Daniel Radcliffe thing. But we're going to move on next to Lurch's next topic, which is the latest in Nintendo Switch update.
Yeah. So, Nintendo Switch has a new update called 14.0.0. A whole number. And this update comes with groups, kind of the same thing as folders. You can now group your games together. So, if you have, if you want to group up your Mario games, you can group them up into one folder or one group.
Or put all your first-person shooters together and all your fighting games together.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's Windows meets console.
yes. And so, they, if you scroll down a little bit on here, you can see like there's a screenshot of a little bit of how it looks. And hopefully this helps, make navigating for games that you want to get to, especially if you have a lot of downloadable games installed like I do. Because all my games are digital download except for Breath of the Wild. It's the only physical game I own on Switch. Everything else is digital downloads.
And I think
so
I'm
gonna probably be making use of this. I haven't had time to sit down and toy around with it a little bit and set it up. However, they did give us some details saying that there's gonna be an all software menu, and groups are only available if you have more than software titles saved on the Nintendo Switch system, which I've got like 40 or something, so I don't have any trouble there. Up to 100 groups can be created with a max of 200 titles per group, and the same software title can be added to multiple groups, which all sounds pretty great to me. If you want to have one group that is you could have a group for Mario games and another group for old school games, and you might have an old school Mario game that's in both groups. You know what I
Well,
mean?
group for RPGs, and then a group for Pokemon, and then you got Pokemon in the Pokemon group and in the RPG group. You know,
Yes.
yeah, and Mario the same thing in the Mario group and in the Mario RPG group. You know,
If they ever put Mario RPG on the Switch, then yes. I
yeah,
don't think it's on there yet.
yeah. But that's as an example, right? And
Yes.
since I think most of us now don't buy as many games on disc or cartridge anymore. We do mostly digital download. I think most people I know, when they go to buy a new game, the first thing they do is they check the digital library to see if they can get it that way, because they don't want to get up and go to the store and get it. You know,
Yeah.
they want that instant gratification, yo.
Well, today, in today's world anymore, it's not even a matter of if it's on the digital store. If it's for sale anywhere, it's on the digital store these days. You
Yeah,
know,
and so the only
PS.
people that get it in disc are the ones that want to put that on a shelf for collecting purposes, really.
Yeah, or if they're concerned about the game getting pulled,
Right.
like I can definitely see like certain games that rely heavily on licensing getting pulled. You know, maybe like certain sports games or racing games or anything that uses heavily licensed properties. Those ones might be worth trying to buy physically because they might get pulled from the store one day if the licensing expires.
Yeah, or a
But
small set of cross-platform games. One of the platform that primarily owns it might pull exclusivity out of it at some point later in the future.
potential. That one I don't think I've seen that happen before, but I have seen licensing get in the way. Like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, that video game got pulled from all the digital storefronts for years because of licensing issues. Licensing.
Well, and there's
Just,
there's that snafu we talked about a couple weeks back, where the Marvel characters, a lot of them are in contention,
hmm
and if those licensing, if those copyright contentions come into fruition, games like Guardians of the Galaxy or Marvel is symbol or anything like that might be in contention, and then their licenses get pulled until it's all figured out. So, because the original, if the license ends up reverting to the estates of the original creators instead of Marvel, then Marvel or whoever has the game production is going to have to deal with them directly to get the sub license to be able to distribute it again.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not too concerned about it. These kinds of suits and cases have come up many times over the years, and I don't think a single one of them has ever won. So,
well, and
um,
even if somebody wins, Almighty Dollar will usually unlock the keys.
yeah.
Somebody will end up selling the rights to where it can be used again.
I do think the
Because
families and the creators should get money, should get some
oh,
financial
absolutely,
compensation reasonable to it. I
yeah,
I'm not worried
absolutely,
about them becoming unavailable.
right, yeah. I mean, I think that the creators deserve a cut of the profits. And sometimes it just depends on how they were contracted to make it in the
Yeah,
first place, and that's where the sticking point is. But we'll of course follow up with that as we do get more information on those kind of issues. But it's
yeah,
still great to see another organizational tool with our console games
yeah,
that will help us in the future. Because if you've got a lot, and I know, for instance, Philip has got so many games that something like this is probably going to be real helpful for him.
yeah, yeah. Even though I've transitioned to mostly doing like for all my modern consoles, I buy digital stuff, but I still buy physical games for my older consoles. And I just ordered a new bookshelf the other day to help, or not a media shelf, a new media shelf to put some of my collection on because I'm just having some trouble with organizing them with the shelving and spacing I have for them right now.
Yeah, one of these times we're going to have to give everybody a virtual tour of your gaming area, just so they can see.
Yeah,
Kind
when I'm finished setting up this room, then I'd be happy to do it. Right now it's a bit of a mess because I've got cables there and cables there and controllers here and games stacked over there. I'm trying to get. I gotta do some repairs on a couple of these older consoles. Some of them aren't working right anymore.
Yeah, I saw the
Sega
post
Saturn
on
disk
Facebook on
drive.
that.
Yeah, my Sega Saturn, for instance, the disk drive won't spin anymore. So I got a toolkit coming in soon, and I'm gonna be. I haven't had to work on these kinds of electronics in a long enough time that I can't find my old tools. So I ordered a new toolkit, and so I'm gonna be taking stuff apart here soon and trying to get some of the non-working equipment working again, and then get it all nice and tidy and
Yeah,
organized
I
with the
love the
bookshelf,
Sega
or
Saturn.
media shelf, and everything.
I absolutely love the Sega Saturn, so I can totally get you there.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite of the consoles that ever came out.
So I like the Dreamcast more than the Saturn, but the Saturn's got some pretty cool stuff.
The Saturn had my
Oh,
favorite console title of all time, which was called Mr.
well,
Bones. Um,
what's that?
the Saturn had my favorite console title of all time,
What game
and
was that?
Mr. Bones. It was about
Mr. Bones.
a dead blues musician that was brought back to life by a necromancer into a skeleton, but he was not under the necromancer's control, so he runs through 2 discs worth of levels, um, trying to fight the necromancer's forces, and he's got the ability, this energy called skeletism that holds his bones together. But there's times when he could change the configuration of his bones, so that like could give himself like really long legs by moving his bones around, or really long arms, or different things. And then he's swimming in underground channels, and every time he bumps against the side of the channel, he's losing skeletism. And or
God damn.
there's
You
some
gotta fake
levels.
it. The cheapest I can find Mr. Bones for Sega Saturn is $90.
Oh yeah,
That's the
that one's
cheapest.
hard to find. There's
And it
levels
goes
where he
up.
plays the drums.
I see it going up to $400.
It's a good title, and they didn't make a lot of them. I just happened to get it, and I was obsessed with that game. And if I could get a Saturn, right now I would only get a Saturn to get that game. You know, uh, I would love to play that game again. But as you can see, getting a copy of the game is expensive as hell.
Yeah.
But it's great because you got to, like I said, there was levels where you had to play the drums or guitar uh, using your Saturn controller. And there was just so many different levels. And at the time, it was such a great, innovative game that I was just totally enamored of it. And I played hours and hours and hours of this game. And I still only got through the first disc and barely into the second. I was like one level into the second disc before we stopped having our Saturn work. um,
This sounds great. I'm reading about the gameplay. I never got to play this one, but I'm
it is
reading while you're talking about
amazing.
it. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm also reading what Wikipedia says about it. It sounds freaking great.
It
Like,
is.
this here, almost every level, like with only a few exceptions, almost every level feels and looks different from the rest.
Yeah, it's like
Some
that.
are,
It's like 200 games all in one game.
yeah.
Oh, you would love it if you had ever seen it. If you can ever get a hold of a copy, I mean, I'm not telling you to spend $90 on a copy, but if you ever do get a hold of a used copy of Mr. Bones and get your Saturn working, I want to be the first one invited over to play because I ain't played it in ages and I love it. And I would just want to see the look on your face as you start playing this game because it's awesome. So when you start playing it, even if I'm not invited over, you need to stream and put your cam on so I can watch your facial expression as you play this game. Because it's great. It's an amazing game. It's one of my favorites. Okay. Next up on our lineup, let's see, what do we have? It should be my turn for a topic. Let's find my mouse
Yeah.
pointer here. Let's see, mouse pointer. The amazing disappointing pointer. There we go. There we are. Okay. Now we do a lot of coverage of the CW verse or the Berlanti verse. I think I actually prefer that name for it. Here on,
Royalty verse?
yeah, on
Yeah, it makes
Showtime.
more sense.
Well, yeah, Greg Berlanti is really the mastermind behind it all.
Hmm.
Um, and they have a comic book adaptation for the Berlantiverse called Earth Prime. Um, and it's a limited edition comic run, but it is said that the Earth Prime comics are official canon to the CW verse or the
What?
Berlanti verse. Everything that happens in the comic books of Earth Prime is canon to the CW verse. According to Berlanti, that is considered canon.
Ah.
And the writers of each issue of Earth Prime are the show writers of episodes of the different shows. And there's a total of 6 episodes, I guess, 5 or 6 episodes of the Earth Prime comic book. And each one features a different one of the Berlantiverse shows. And the last issue of the comic just came out. And what's good about that is the last issue is a crossover issue. It brings, among others, Martian Manhunter in. So, Supergirl crossover after Supergirl ended. And also, I guess it's going to touch on Stargirl, in fact, too. So we've got some canon stuff from the comic book uh, giving us a preview of hopefully some of the later crossover goodness they haven't revealed yet in the TV shows. So if you go on and check some of the YouTube talk shows that talk about the DC verse, like PG, who does the DC fandom broadcast. There's a few of them out there talking about this issue and this crossover that is kind of telegraphing a potential for crossovers coming in later in the season. And I'm chomping at the bit because if there's one thing Berlanti did really well, I mean, he did his shows pretty good, but what he did really well was his crossovers. I mean, probably the most epic event in TV of all time was Crisis. Crisis, the crossover, was an amazing spectacle on the CW verse, and every one of my friends that was into comic book heroes were chomping at the bit to watch the Crisis as it came out. I know Lurch was in on that. The Crisis on Infinite Earth. Hell yeah, that was a crossover.
That was awesome.
That was the shit. Uh, and so
Yeah.
if they're going to telegraph more crossovers, I'm all in. Because I can't wait to see Stargirl crossover with the Flash and stuff more. And I mean,
did you? I just read today, and the article might have been a couple of days old, but I just read a headline anyway. I didn't have time to read the whole article. That Stargirl season 3 filming is wrapped. By the way, thought you might be interested in that.
Oh yeah, I am so waiting because Stargirl. I mean, I like Flash, and I like Legends of Tomorrow, and I like Stargirl. Those are my 3 favorites, and they kind of rotate in that top position depending on episode to episode. But the Flash is probably my favorite of all. But Stargirl gets in there a lot. I really like what they're doing with Stargirl. And of course, for pure quirkiness, you cannot beat Legends of Tomorrow. They've got the quirkiness down. If you want quirky, kooky episodes, you got to watch Legends of Tomorrow. That's a show that's not afraid to make fun of itself. Even though there's some characters I think they could easily get rid of and it would improve the show, like Bayrod. I still don't like Bayrod.
I did start finding him a little bit more intolerable when he started growing up a bit in the last few episodes, even though I felt like it happened really fast, kind of suddenly, undeserved. But at least he became a little bit more
a little more grown up, a little bit less than just a plain stoner. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Because,
did
like you
feel
said,
undeserved how much he grew and how quickly and almost for no reason other than I
well,
don't know.
there was that one episode where his past had changed, and so then he got to be Joe Sirius for a while with his TV show and stuff. And that one,
Yeah,
and that might have been part of the reason for his sudden maturity. I'm at least going to chalk it up to that
yeah.
because to me he's still just the eternal
Like
stoner, and it even
it's
showed with that false finale episode when he just is basically the stoner doing the freaking Mister Rogers Neighborhood kind of crap.
well, he's quit. He in like two or three episodes before for the season finale, he quit using drugs. Just cold turkey stopped.
Yeah, and
Um,
him not using his herbal
which
remedies just doesn't seem like him.
like, and I don't mind that he quit. I just feel like
It
it
seems a little
happened
bit abrupt.
sudden. Yeah, it happened abruptly. For the and I don't even remember why. I don't remember him even having a reason why, other than him just suddenly going, maybe I should grow up. I want to
Yeah,
stop doing everything I love all of a sudden.
yeah, it's a little abrupt and not real
Yeah,
believable
and it
because of that.
and at the same time, he also suddenly had an attraction to Astra that
Right,
happened at about the same time. Now, I would have found it a little bit more sensical if he started developing feelings and he realized his
his drug use was getting
his
in the way.
exactly. But
Yeah,
that didn't. I don't feel like that was the case. I just feel like he
I don't
suddenly
think
went,
it.
"Oh, I need to grow up. Oh, now that I'm growing up, I should have a love interest." Is the
Yeah,
way I
because for
felt
one
about it.
thing, Astra's one character that I don't think would be bugged by the fact that he used drugs.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
she grew up in
Of all
hell. She grew
of
up in
all the
hell.
characters of all the characters that would care, it would not be her.
No, I'd see Spooner more quickly than Astra. Astra
Yeah,
grew up in hell. She
if he
might
was
think of him
falling in
as a
love,
requirement. You know.
I could see if he fell in love with Gideon. I could see Gideon having an issue with it, maybe, or maybe
Maybe
Spooner. And yeah, and those are
Spooner.
still both maybes. But Astra, absolutely not.
The only one that'd be more open to it than Astra would be John Constantine. You know?
Yeah,
Okay, but we'll get into the Berlanti verse a little bit later. I just wanted to touch on this comic book because I had not heard about the Earth Prime comic book until I saw a few of the broadcasts about it.
yeah.
Because they were
Somehow I
talking
hadn't.
they were talking about crossovers in the CW verse, and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta watch this potential crossovers." Then they start talking about the comic book, but then they say how Berlanti has said everything in this comic book is canon to the Berlanti verse, and that it's actual show writers that are writing each issue of the comic. And I'm like,
You know,
oh
I,
damn, I
w-
might want to go find these comics.
I wanted to say I'm surprised I haven't heard of this, but then I also then remembered I haven't just like since 3 years ago. I haven't just gone to the comic shop and just hung out for hours at a time like I used to.
There's not a
You
cool
know,
comic shop to do it here in town anymore.
yeah. I
Not
mean,
really.
I go to vintage stock and I pick up my new comics. At least not for the not where you can get new things. Like
Yeah,
there's a
vintage stock
there's
is
a
just not a hangout comic book type place.
exactly. So
And since Cosmic Kings and Comic Cave and stuff have really kind of
yeah,
gone under the.
Cosmic King is cut down to 1 day a week, and it's just run by a manager who doesn't like really hanging out. At least the last time I went in there. Comic Cave closed.
Closed.
Nameless City closed.
Yep,
Um,
it's
the
crazy,
only
man.
yeah
I mean,
another comic shop is around, but they don't do new books. They only do used
do
books,
they do
which
any? I've never been in Rubel's store. Does he have comic books?
he does have comic books. It's an interesting store. It's a very eclectic collection of various things. You get toys, you get posters. Um,
I want to go in his store at some point. I just have
it's
never managed to do it.
it's a great I find it to be a great store when you want to buy someone a gift and you're not sure what to get them, but you know what kind of things they like. You can just go in there and you can find like a collectible toy or a poster or something of that property. Like I
Right.
found all kinds of random stuff. I got an original like 1978 or whatever year that movie came out in of Aliens poster, like an original poster from when that movie came out. I found it at Rubel's store.
Right. And I know the kid was going through his Hot Wheels talking about possibly getting rid of him. And I was telling him, if anything, you want to either wait till RubelCon to try to sell him to one of the booths at RubelCon, or just go into Rubel's store and see what Rubel will give him for him, because Hot Hot Wheels is a big part of what Rubel made RubelCon what it is. So,
Yeah,
and the Rubelmeister store is kind of what started RubelCon. So, you know, we always tell you on our show anyway that we fully support the friendly local gaming stores. We want you to go to the local gaming stores. We want you to go to Metagames. When they were open, we wanted you to go to Nameless. We wanted you to
yeah,
go to Game Masters, and we want you to go to Cosmic Kings and these places, because the more you support these local stores, the more we'll have these stores available to us. Because the only way these small businesses are going to stay afloat is if the local community supports them. And yes, I'm sure you can get some great games and comics and stuff online at discount prices. And that's fine. And I never begrudge anybody for going for a discount. Just remember that not everything needs to be bought on eBay and Amazon, that you can go
yeah,
in and there's some really valuable resources at these stores that can help you. Carl
yeah.
over at Metagames and Jeremy at Metagames are amazing individuals who know role-playing games and Magic the Gathering and Frisbee golf and Yu-Gi-Oh and all these things. So if you want to get into these hobbies, go talk to Carl and go talk to Jeremy and the rest of the crew at Metagames, for instance. These are the ones where I know the name of the actual people that are going to be helping you. So that's why I'm saying Metagames right now. But
Yeah.
go to your local gaming stores, because you never know. There's a wealth of information that you will get from these people, because they're not just selling this stuff. They play these games. They are
Yeah.
us in
They're
business.
they're enthusiasts that found a way to make a living with their
They,
hobbies.
yeah.
Uh, Same goes for Game World down in Nixa for retro video games. That's just a whole shop of retro video game consoles. They have Virtual Boys in stock for sale. Virtual Boys.
Same
I
thing.
never saw one in person, and I got to see what one looked like with it on there that they're selling. I didn't have the money to buy it whenever I was there, but they at the time I was looking at it, they had 3 in stock.
Yeah. Go into Entertain Mart and Vintage Stock and check out what games and talk to the clerks there, because a lot of the clerks play these games and watch these movies and collect these collectibles. Uh, Collectomaniacs up in the Ozark. Go there. I mean, Cards and Stripes in Republic. There are so many great gaming stores in the Ozarks area, and the only way we're going to keep those gaming stores is if we support them. Part of the reason that we've had wonderful stores like Nameless close down is because of not having enough business, and unfortunately, that's not all you guys' fault. That's the fault of COVID. Is a big reason a lot of stores have closed. Just people not going out
Yeah.
is just going to do it. So if you've got a favorite store, yes, still go get that deal that's on Amazon. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know what? To make yourself feel better about getting that great deal and saving $20 on Amazon, go buy a new set of dice from Metagames. You know,
And sometimes the local stores can have just as same or sometimes cheaper prices. Sometimes I'll look up on Amazon how much a game costs compared to what it is at Game World, and sometimes Game World's price will be a little bit cheaper than what I found online. And it has since it's a physical store and they have like I don't remember how many days return policy. If you take the game home and it doesn't work, you just drive back to the store and tell them it didn't work and get a refund or exchange for something else. It's a lot easier than having to deal with it on eBay or Amazon sometimes with those not working games or whatever kind of content.
That's
There's
exactly
also
right.
there's also Haven Games in Nixa, which is just down the street from Game World. Another great place to that's a great place for board games, tabletop stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing you got to remember is these stores not only support your gaming hobby, but local game developers. Uh, some of these stores will have separate areas where they're promoting local game developers' games. Metagames will sell games from people that are designers locally. Nameless, before they closed down, was the exclusive local distributor for Mythic by Cactus Totem Games, which I was for a time a writer, editor, and layout person for, game designer for. So, not that I don't get any royalties from it. I think I made 50 cents the whole time I worked for them, but it was more labor of love. But I totally relayed out their advanced rule book, and my girlfriend was the editor for it, and Nameless was the distributor for Mythic, and Mythic was also featured at Game a couple of years as one of the games that they had on demo. So if you want to support local game designers and local gaming clubs, because Metagames, for instance, has the D&D 101 on Sundays where you can come in and join a table and learn Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. I know there's not a whole lot of games that are steadily going still because of COVID, but I know Colby, the leader of the D&D group, is running a 101 table at least every other Sunday there. You can learn Magic, you can learn Warhammer 40K, you can learn board games on 417 Gamers Game Night, which is Thursdays there at Metagames. So if you want to expand your hobby and you don't want to wait for the next convention, check out your local gaming stores and see if they have weekly game nights for the game you like. A lot of stores, if your kids are into Pokemon, I know traditionally Monday was always a Pokemon night at game stores. Like when Dragon's Lair was open here in town, Monday was always Pokemon night. So go to your friendly local gaming store and check out gaming nights and support your local gaming store, because we do. We don't begrudge, like I said, anybody getting anything on Amazon or eBay and saving a buck. There's nothing wrong with saving a buck. But take some of those bucks you save and go into your friendly local gaming store and buy a set of dice or buy a pack of cards, or come in there, buy a couple of sodas, sit down and play a game or two. If you're comfortable going out right now, I know not everybody's comfortable going out. I know I'm not. But those of you who are going out anyway, if you're going to go out and play games, why not play games at your friendly local gaming store where there's other people that are our people, our tribe, and go out and do it. So anyway, that's what I have for the Earth Prime comic book. We're going to go on to Lurch's next thing. We went off on a tangent, but we do that on this show. That's one of the joys of social media like this, is you never know quite where the conversation is going to lead. But Lurch is next up with something about Gran Turismo.
Yeah, so Gran Turismo 7, which recently came out, had some troubles recently. So they did an update that was only supposed to last for a short while, bring down the game for a short while to do an update. But there was a problem with that update, and version 1.07 ended up having a bug that could destroy your game saves. So they took the whole service for the game offline till they could create patch 1.03 or 1.08 to fix what 1.07 broke, which brought the game offline for over 24 hours. The thing that annoyed a lot of people is even the single player portion of the game was offline, was unavailable. So this game requires like always online to do any meaningful gaming on it. Like it made sense for the multiplayer to be offline, but for single player, it is pretty frustrating for them. And then add to that, this game uses a lot of it uses a lot of like in-game currency with like challenges to complete that are on like real-world timers to complete them to earn the in-game currency to purchase your upgrades and purchase your cars and things like that. And they have these like rotations so that like what cars are available to buy will rotate out, which then that creates the FOMO effect, fear of missing out. And in a game that already is very grindy because the amount of resources payout, like the amount of payout and credits that you get for completing events in the game are really low compared to how many credits it takes to buy a lot of these nicer cars. You know, like someone did the math and it can take like 40 hours to unlock one car. And I think that was the best car, but if you didn't unlock anything else but that car, by doing the most efficient way of earning credits, it would take like 40 hours to earn that car. That's not, doing variety things and just having fun with it. And you got to deal with, cars cycling out and then for availability. And the main thing that the update did was it reduced the payout for some of the events. Or that was one of the big things that the update did, is it reduced the payout on those events, which makes it even harder to buy the cars that you want.
Slow it down. Yep.
Yeah. So they slowed that down, and the game was offline for more than 24 hours, making it difficult for people to earn their credits on these challenges and to earn these rewards that are time sensitive in real world time. And it's got microtransactions though, where you can spend real money to buy these credits instead to buy the cars you want. I think maybe that's what it was. I think they said it was like 25 hours to unlock the car or 40 real world dollars to buy the car. Or I might have had those numbers flipped around. Either way, it's a little bit kind of ridiculous.
But yeah, they're saying it encourages microtransactions, which, as most people know, most gamers actually hate.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we don't realize, because we're making microtransactions, that by the end of the month we're spending, $100 on something we were only going to spend $20 on if we'd have just bought it outright.
Yeah.
Because
These
microtransactions get you $1 at a time.
this here, like I heard that the gameplay, I've seen that the gameplay is, really top notch, probably the best gameplay out of a Gran Turismo we've had in multiple, generations of these games. The problem is how difficult it is to unlock things because of the low payouts and the high costs and the rotations and stuff like that. And so it really pushes people to do microtransactions. And I don't have the self-control to not be to be responsible with this game. So I'm going to pass on this game because I am going to end up spending $200 on credits for the cars that I want.
Yep. Yeah, you know your limits.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like if you're a compulsive gambler, don't go to Vegas.
Yeah.
If you're a compulsive microtransaction person, don't play a microtransaction game.
Yeah. I spent over $200 on skins in the Avengers game. I justified a little bit because I did play the game for over 300 hours, but still.
I'm not going to name names or anything because that would be a violation of my old work contract. But I used to work for a credit card company, and you know how much money I had people calling to get credit increases on their credit card for just to buy Farmville amulets. I mean, microtransactions are an addiction.
Yeah.
And there are people, and they were giving their 11-year-olds and their 8-year-olds money to buy these $50 amulets in Farmville. I ain't letting no 8-year-old spend $50 on a phone game. But these people
Yeah.
were calling to get amulets and stuff, getting their credit raised just to buy an amulet. What the hell?
I had I played Pokemon Go at first, and within the first month, I spent $150 on microtransactions in Pokemon Go,
I
and so
can
I
have
uninstalled it. I uninstalled it.
I can happily say, in all the time I played Pokemon Go, I spent $2.
And so I was just constantly playing there for that first month. I'd ride, I know, a friend of mine and I would just that's not even the thing about how much gas that we spent, because we would sometimes go downtown where there was a whole lot of like Pokestops, and like
With commercial,
one of us would drive, and the other one would ride passenger, shotgun with both phones, hitting all the Pokestops and catching what Pokemon they could, as we just cruised around
up,
downtown for 2 hours.
yeah, up and down commercial was great for that.
Yeah, we'd hit
Still
Commercial
is.
Street. We'd
And
hit
then Walnut, and then
we'd hit the
Walnut.
square. We'd go through the square area, going up
Yep.
and down.
But
Walnut and
commercial's the single best place in town to get Pokestops.
yeah.
It's got more Pokestops than freaking what you call it park, Nathaniel Green. I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
I once got lost while playing Pokemon Go because I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. I was trying to catch a ghost type. I think it was a Gengar, but I don't remember. It was either Ghastly, Haunter, or Gengar. It was one of those three. And it was showing on my map, like off in the distance. I went pursuing after it. And then eventually, I lost it. And then I looked up and I was like, where the fuck am I? I was like I was in an area that had like 2 working street lights and train tracks and an abandoned warehouse. And I was like, this is where like the Joker hangs out. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, like,
I'm gonna get myself killed, turned into a ghost, trying to find this goddamn ghost Pokemon.
well, in 2018, I think it was, I went to Vegas for a board game tournament, and I had just kind of recently started playing Pokemon Go. And
Oh yeah.
I had to fight not to follow Pokemon there because, I mean, I'm there for a tournament, but I could easily have gotten lost in all the casinos and stuff going for hunting Pokemon.
Oh man.
There, I had to purposely limit myself to capturing a couple in the airport and then shutting my phone off. Because otherwise I would have been Pokemon hunting and I might have even missed the tournament.
Damn.
Because I was in the Ascension tournament there. I mean, I got eliminated pretty quickly, so I wasn't there very long. I didn't even get to meet Will Wheaton, who was emceeing the thing, because he didn't show up.
Oh.
He was supposed to be at the pre-party, and he didn't show up at the pre-party, and that's where I was going to say hi to him and shit. And he did the announcing at the main event, but of course that's when there's like, 1,000 of us in this big area all play, 4 different board games for our board game tournament, and only the people in the finals for each game was actually going to get to meet Will, face to face, really. And so I didn't get to even meet Will, which sucked because that's one of the main reasons I went. Was to meet.
You should have yelled out with your shake facing, Wheaton! Maybe he'd show up.
He did come on when he first come on to do announcing for the opening day. He was like, "Okay, I do want to let everybody know I was up all last night, just rolling my dice to get rid of all the bad rolls for everybody. So everybody should be okay." Because he's notoriously one of the worst dice rollers in the world. So So if he can get rid of all the bad dice rolls, everybody else should be having good luck. Is what was his reasoning. I thought that was an
Yeah.
awful nice service of his. But since I was playing a card game, it didn't really help me at all. Mine didn't have
Oh
any
shit.
dice rolling. Yeah, mine didn't have any dice rolling, so his help didn't help me one bit. I was playing Ascension, which is a collectible, or not a collectible, but a deck building game.
Yeah, it's a superhero themed deck building game, right? But
Not
no,
superheroes, more.
not licensed heroes, but
Ascension's not even superhero; it's more mythology kind of.
okay.
Heroes and monsters kind of thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're like super powered beings of some kind.
yeah,
It's been a while
and
since I played
there's
it, but
there's
I've played
several
it a couple
different
times.
sets, and I own 3 of the sets, and I'm really good at the game, but I got eliminated really quickly for some reason. I guess I showed up with a target on my back, and nobody told me
Yeah.
because they like eliminated me right off the bat before they went after anybody else in both of the 2 games I played in. So I was eliminated like that. And what was
Dang.
bad is in both those games, I was paired with another person from Springfield that came with me. That's part of the reason I had the target on my back. Yeah, exactly.
Dang. Cold
So,
blooded. You sure that was a friend?
well, no, they wanted to win too, but you'd think, because the whole purpose of the tournament was to show off this new tournament bracketing software. You'd think the bracketing software would be better able to randomize people so that in the first few rounds you weren't playing with people from the same area. You'd think I'd have gotten shuffled better. Because it's like
probably they didn't. They
200.
probably didn't put. They didn't probably. They probably didn't put your addresses into their shuffle program. They're just like, here's a name and email address. Shuffle them about.
But like, there's 250 people playing each game. You would think I would get paired against somebody other than, especially not in 2 games. I should have at
The
least
odds
had
weren't
one
in
game
your
with.
favor.
Yeah, the odds were
That's
forever not in my favor, as Katniss Everdeen would say.
yeah.
The odds were the odds were you were screwed, is what they said to me. Is y'all
Yeah.
screwed? But
Maybe.
I'm not bitter. But anyway, so yeah, it's those microtransactions though you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
Now let's see, what's next on our list of things we're covering here. Oh yes, I wanted to give people an update. I know some people had heard they were going to be adapting Neil Gaiman's The Sandman for a TV series on Netflix. Well, it's still going. It's still supposed to premiere sometime in 2022. I can also say that I think it was August of last year, they finished filming on the first season. So it is in the can. So it should be coming soon.
They finished filming?
Yes.
Yes!
The first season. Yes.
It might finally happen.
Yes.
It's finally gonna happen.
Yes.
We've been trying to. Neil Gaiman's been trying to get a Sandman movie for like 15 years.
Sandman
or
movie
something.
or TV series, a property, but he's never quite had the right people to do it.
Yeah.
And in this case, there's the first look you can find with the things that they know for the Sandman movie. It's supposed to be really true to the comics. One of the only things that was disappointing to some of the previewers was that the Sandman himself did not have the stars in his eyes because they felt that human eyes were still more expressive emotionally for the role. Is why they didn't replace him with the starscape that is signature from the graphic novels.
Okay.
But I mean, the side-by-side comparison here, if you look on the screen, it's not a bad comparison for the main character. And they've got some really top-of-the-line actors to play some of the other characters. I mean, Tom Sturridge is the one playing Dream, the title character. the Sandman, Dream,
Yeah.
Morpheus. You can call him by many names. Then,
Yes.
then you got Kirby Howell Baptiste playing Death, his sister, his older, wiser, and a little bit more mischievous sister.
Yeah.
Uh, the fun, upbeat goth, as they like to call her.
I
Uh,
like her in the books.
and she, in the end, she's a great character in the books. And Neil Gaiman, anybody who knows Neil Gaiman's sense of humor and the perverse knows that he can take a mythology and really put it on its ears and make it
Yeah.
hilarious while not making it slapstick. And that's the thing that he does is he makes it funny and he makes it so apropos. One of my favorite books that he wrote was a really short book called The Anansi Boys, and it was about the two brothers that were the sons of the African spider god Anansi, and of course, Spider being one of the many gods of the world that has been a god of mischief. All kinds of craziness ensue. It's basically an African Loki. Uh,
Yeah.
so, and then it Desires, played by Mason Alexander Park. Um, Despair is played by Donna Preston, and that's Desire's twin sister. We got Delirium is not cast. Destiny is not cast. Destruction is not cast. Lucifer is being played by Gwendolyn Christie. Best known for her portrayal of Brianna of Tarth in the Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
So that's going to be an interesting one. It's kind of funny
Yeah.
because Sandman is in the DC universe of graphic novels and comic books, and the TV series Lucifer is based on the DC comic book version of Lucifer. In
Yeah.
fact, so much so that he even had a crossover in Crisis. Um, and but this is going to be a different version of Lucifer than that. So that means the Sandman is going to be a different continuity from
Yeah.
that. But that's okay because DC and Marvel are both openly multiverses, so we can have all kinds of continuities.
Yeah.
Roderick Burgess is being played by Charles Dance. He's a great older actor. He's been in a lot of things. And then Lucien is played by Vivian Akmapong. See, and there's Kane being played by Kane and Abel. By Sanjeev Bhaskar and Asim Chaudhry. And if I mess up those name pronunciations, don't blame me. But they're playing two interesting characters from the comic books as well. The Corinthian is being played by Boyd Holbrook. Joanna Constantine, okay, instead of having John Constantine, they have John Constantine's female ancestor, the DC occultist Joanna Constantine, is going to be in it, and she's being played by Jenna Coleman of Doctor Who fame. Of course, she is one of the famous companions of the Doctor, so she's coming in to play Johanna Constantine. So we will have a member of the Constantine clan. It's just not going to be John.
Yeah.
And then Matthew the Raven is voiced by Patton Oswalt, a great comedian. And John Doe is being played by David Thewlis. And of course, a lot of people remember David Thewlis because he was Remus Lupin from Harry Potter.
Yep.
So it's good to see him in another role because Remus Lupin was, of course, one of my favorite characters in the Harry Potter series. And I thought Thewlis did a great job as Lupin. And so it'll be interesting to see him as John Doe. who is one of the primary antagonists of the Sandman. Because for those who don't know the concept, the Sandman graphic novels is the Morpheus, the god of dreams, and everything comes from the other world to go fix his mistakes that he's made throughout the generations. So he comes into the real world to fix his mistakes, and some dark hilarity ensues as a consequence of this. And John Doe is one of the antagonists who tries to stand in his way of making some of these fixes. We got Lita Hall is being played by Razan Jamal. Lesser known characters in the DC canon. Lita Hall is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. Okay, so and she gets crossovers with the Sandman in a couple of the graphic novel stories. You would think that she'd first premiere in a Wonder Woman movie or show, but instead she's going to premiere in the Sandman because she's known to be one of the crossover characters from the novel, and they're supposed to be staying really close to the source material. Neil Gaiman is one of the executive producers on the show, so it is going to stay close to Gaiman's vision.
Yeah.
Ethel Cripps is being played by Jolly Richardson for the old version, and Niamh Walsh for the younger version. She's the mother of John Doe. Emma of the Order of Ancient Mysteries and the former love interest of Roderick Burgess. Rose Walker is being played by Kaio Ra. She's a vortex. She's been passed through her lineage. She travels to England, meets her grandmother Unity. Vortex is an interesting character, and I don't want to spoil anything by going too detailed into what that is about. But if you read the graphic novels or watch the show, it should become as clear as mud to you soon.
Yeah.
Then there's Unity Kincaid, played by Sandra James Young. Gilbert, played by Stephen Fry. Yes. I mean,
that's fitting.
It's a great casting, and the fact that they basically finished shooting the first season means that we're just chomping at the bit waiting for the announcement, and it should come out in 2022. And the good thing about a Netflix series, unlike other series, is when it drops, the whole season drops all at once, so you can binge it right away. You don't have to wait week after week for another episode to come out. You can binge that stuff like an addict. And
I'm probably going to be doing a bit of that myself. I'm probably going to be binging that like a maniac.
Oh, yeah. You can expect that when that comes out on Netflix, the following week we will be talking about it on this show for sure. Because as soon as I hear about it, my first text is going to be to Lurch to make sure he knows. He'll be like, Sandman's dropping on this date. Okay.
Yeah. The thing that might hold me up is I still have, I've got work responsibilities. That's what might hold me up on getting it done too quickly.
That you got to do, but still, this is the Sandman. It's a valuable property to think about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on this.
I haven't finished the books. I've read about a quarter of all of the Sandman books, of the actual Sandman books.
I would love to get the graphic novels again. It's been a little
since I read the ones I read, I checked out from the library. When I wasn't sure if I was going to like them as much as I did. But yeah, I checked out the first couple at first, and then I put a few more on my waiting list, and then was just kind of cycling through and reading through them, and then the pandemic hit and the library shut down, and I had a volume of it. I don't remember which volume it was, like volume 6 or something of the Sandman stuck in my house for like a year because the library was closed.
Yeah.
And then but then I kind of like lost track of where things were, and I need to like get a refresher and then pick back up on where I was or something. Because I want to
Yeah,
finish those.
but
Those
I
were
think,
so good.
and Neil Gaiman is just such a great author, be it comic books or actual novels.
Yeah. And
He,
actually, now I now know I like them well enough. I'd like to just own them, so I might just have to like remember where I left off, read a synopsis of the first few, and then start buying the books from there.
yeah, I want to buy the whole series. I would like to have the full collector series of graphic novels
Yeah,
in a bookcase somewhere to leave to Allison and Patrick when I leave.
yeah,
Because that's a worthy set of graphic novels to own as a set, I think. Not only that, but I'd like to have copies of the American Gods and the Anansi Boys by him too, because he does such a great job with alternative mythologies. Uh,
yeah. That's a book I've been meaning on getting around to reading before long.
the
I
American
haven't watched
Gods,
the show. I haven't watched the show because I want to read the book first. I decided
yeah,
I wanted to read the book of that first and then watch the show. But then, actually, I had that book on my waiting list when the library closed. So I didn't have it, I don't think, but I had it on my waiting list. And then, you know, things got dropped off with the list and everything else after they eventually opened, and things just kind of got wonky. And I never got around to actually picking it up and reading. Um,
it's worth the read because he's so good at alternative mythologies,
yeah,
and
yeah,
his portrayal of the gods makes them so much more human. And of course, that was the thing about most non-Christian gods is they were more human. They
mhm.
were just larger than life humans. That's why one of the things that we love about comic books is our superheroes are the newest version of the gods to us, because
Yep,
that's what the Greek mythology, the Norse mythology, the Egyptians, they were the superheroes of those eras. You
yep,
know, you looked at characters like Hercules and Gilgamesh and Odysseus, and you think of them the same way that you think of Iron Man and Spider Man and Doctor Strange and all that. These are the stories. They're not quite as all powerful, all knowing, and absolutely pure as the so called Christian God is. They have faults, they have jealousies, they have human frailties. I mean, why else would great beings like these gods create humans with these frailties if they didn't have them themselves? I mean, uh,
yeah,
and that's the thing, because they even the Christians say God created man in His image, but they try to paint God as some perfect, all-knowing, all-loving being. Although I'm not going to get into the religious debate of it.
yeah.
The Greeks and the Romans, we had them. Zeus killed his father and imprisoned all of his aunts and uncles and
Yeah.
stuff, and and married his sister, and uh, burped one of his children by having Hephaestus hit him over the head with a mallet. Yeah, you know, these are some crazy things, but it's great how they're portrayed and stuff. And Neil Gaiman takes a modern take on that and really shows you what a true master of the pen can do. So if you're interested in writing and you've read normal mythology, then go read Neil Gaiman's version of mythology and compare
Yeah,
the
his
two, and
oh
that will
god,
give you
his
an
his
example.
Gaiman's book, Norse mythology, fantastic.
Oh yes,
I
that.
that one I think I checked from the library, read it, and then I bought it and read it again.
But he gives you a whole other side to those mythologies and a whole other way of looking at writing and
Yeah,
storytelling, because he took the same stories and made them so much better in a way,
yeah,
different and contemporary and infused with humor and emotion. And if you want to improve as a writer, these are the people you want to idolize.
I mean,
And
if you want to talk about improving as a writer, I wanted to go ahead and mention with Neil Gaiman has a online class you can do at
masterclass,
masterclass.com.
I
Yep.
know that was the first masterclass of the masterclass series that tempted me to want to join masterclass. Was Neil Gaiman's. Oh, what is this? Hold on.
Yeah, he's got some brilliant advice on there.
It was just a notification for a game I recently installed. I forgot to turn the notifications off for.
Oh,
Okay.
I was like, my audio suddenly, the audio of you like got weird for a second.
No, I got a notice on my phone.
Uh,
But
so yeah, the Sandman. I'm really stoked to see this finally coming. I
I've been
hope
chomping
it.
at the bit ever since it was announced.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I liked it when he was talking originally with oh, who was it? He was originally going to do it with.
I know. Well, originally is a hard thing because he's been talking to so many different
Well, yeah,
people,
he's
but
been
the
done, but there was one that he was going to do with.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to do a
That's the one,
Sandman
the Joseph
interpretation of.
Gordon-Levitt one, and then it fell through because they couldn't find a network to carry it, and it took so long that afterwards, it just fell out. And I think Levitt would have been a good partner in that because Joseph Gordon-Levitt would have been a good dream. But
Yeah,
because he is a great actor, he is. He's basically, even though he never actually steps into the role, he's Christopher Nolan's version of Robin because he's Robin at the very tail end of that series without ever stepping into the role. Um, but yeah, I've been looking forward to this since back in that time, and now it's finally in the can has got me so excited. And knowing that it's supposed to come out, they could be announcing it any time now. And at the beginning of each month is when the new Netflix stuff comes out, so it could be an April or May release. You know, I would love it if they came with the less fanfare and snuck up on us with an April release. But I think they're going to give us a little bit more lead time, so it's probably going to be a May or June release, or a little bit later in the year. But regardless, I cannot wait. I am excited as all get out for this particular uh,
yeah.
Netflix adaptation. They've been doing so much in TV and movies. There's so many remakes out there right now, so many movie adaptations and book adaptations and video game adaptations. Hollywood is running out of new ideas, so they're really having to go and plumb the other medias and doing conversions and remakes and requels. Like I recently saw the Scream requel. I'm not going to go into it, but there's so much that they're remaking or adapting finally for TV. Like they didn't think that they could do it until now when they're starting to get the kind of special effects to do some of these things. And it is becoming a great day for nerds like us who have a lot of these nerd properties that we like to see reimagined. I mean, we already are hitting the comic book renaissance in movies and TV. There's so many great superheroes coming out on TV and comic books. Then we've got the Harry Potter franchise. Now we got the second Harry Potter set with the Fantastic Beasts series coming out. And we got the third one for that coming out. And that's supposed to be a total of 5. It was originally going to be 7, just like the Harry Potters, but it turned out to be 5. So we're going to have 2 more after this. We've got sequels to the Avatar movies finally get ready to release from Disney. So there's just so much good stuff coming out media-wise that it's a heyday for us. And speaking of that, it's time to go visit the vault. Now, I love to talk about the new stuff, and Neil Gaiman is actually a perfect segue into this. It's not a Neil Gaiman story, but it is another great author. Probably one of the greatest authors of all time is Stephen King. And everybody thinks that Stephen King is the great horror thriller author. But he wrote under a couple of pen names, one of them being Richard Bachman. And one of his most popular works as Richard Bachman was The Shawshank Redemption. And then they made a movie for The Shawshank Redemption starring Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. And this movie, it didn't have a huge opening in theaters and stuff, but it is now listed on IMDb as the best movie ever made. It is the #1 rated movie on IMDb. It's got really high marks on Rotten Tomatoes. It is a movie for everybody, and it's because it crosses so many genres, and it doesn't fit squarely in any one genre. I mean, yes, in a way, it's a Prison Break movie, but it's also a building of community and fellow man movie, and it's a corruption in the systems movie, and it's a walk through time movie, because the whole movie happens through, decades. It doesn't all happen in a year or 18 months. It's decades of time in the prison, and it's all narrated by Morgan Freeman, which we all know is one of the best narrator voices there is on the planet. And he narrates this character, which is Tim Robbins' character, who comes into the prison system because he supposedly killed his wife for cheating on him. And he swears he didn't do it, but of course everybody in prison is innocent, except Morgan Freeman. He's the only character in the whole movie that, when asked, says, "I did it." He says, but everybody else says, "I'm innocent," and it's a running joke in the movie. But Tim Robbins' character, he is quiet. He's the one, when he first enters the prison system. I mean, Freeman's already been there for like over 10 years. And one of the first things they do when the new fish come in is try to guess which one of them is going to break first and start crying. And it's kind of the first race that they start gambling on. And Morgan Freeman bet on Tim Robbins' character because, he saw him as just this skinny, white, privileged American, ex-banker, accountant. He's like, oh yeah, he's going to break. And he doesn't. And he's quiet and barely says 2 words to anybody for the first several months in prison. But then he gets put on an off-site work crew and ends up offering to do some tax work for one of the guards who had gotten some money in a small settlement from a relative, and offers to help him so he doesn't have to pay taxes on this money. And in payment, he just makes an agreement to give 3 beers for each one of the outside workers in a short break to drink the 3 beers. And he doesn't even drink one. He gets beers for all the rest of the inmates, but not him. So he slowly makes friends and bonds with each of the prisoners. And he goes on to build the prison library. And there's so few books in the prison library that he starts a letter writing campaign to his congressmen and stuff to get books for the library. And he writes so many letters that finally he gets like $100 stipends to put some books in the library. And they tell him, this is a one-time thing, now please stop writing. So now he writes 2 letters a week instead of just 1. And he gets more and more books donated to the library, and he starts teaching these inmates so that they can get their high school diplomas. Inmates that have never made it anywhere in life are getting their high school diplomas because of him. And he's doing these other things, helping his warden with these different things with tax law and real estate and stuff, and squirreling the money away under a fake name so he's not paying taxes on him. So that when he actually does escape, he cleans the warden out of all the money he made from him. At the end, after like 30 years, it's a 30-year escape plan, but he does it with a little rock hammer. And he ends up clearing out bank accounts for the warden of all the money that he had made for the warden. And he's made it so that the warden ends up getting arrested and everything for what he done. And then eventually Morgan Freeman gets out. And at the time that Morgan Freeman finally gets paroled is when he tells him, you know what? I don't care about being paroled anymore. You know what? I'm here now. And that's when they finally approve his parole. And he had asked Morgan Freeman if he ever got out to go to this one place, this old wheat field, and look under this piece of volcanic rock that shouldn't be in this wall, and he might find something. And he finds a little note there with some money telling him to go meet him in Mexico. And you remember the town because they had talked about what town he would retire at. So the last scene of the movie is Morgan Freeman walking up on the beach in Mexico, and there's Tim Robin working on this old salvage boat and everything. So it draws you in, and it's such glorious storytelling from purely a person who's into the craft of movie making, storytelling, writing. This is an example of how to do everything right. You make characters that people truly invest their emotions into. And I mean, these are criminals in prison, but you're sympathetic to these characters, and you learn to love some of these characters as the movie goes on. And if you read the book, it's the same thing, because I mean, even Neil Gaiman will tell you that one of the best masters of the craft when it comes to writing is Stephen King. And one of the best books there is out there. And he also has a master class in the masterclass series.
Stephen King?
Yes. And he has one of the best books out there on the market for how to write a novel. And his How to Write a Novel book is what most professional authors will quote as being the best resource they ever came across, including J.K. Rowling. Stephen King is a big fan of J.K. Rowling, who, of course, wrote the Harry Potter novels and then helped executively produce the movies. And since Stephen King started taking more control of his movie adaptations, his movie adaptations have been better. Overall, I mean, because some of his earlier ones were not great. Some were good. Salem's Lot was good, and they're remaking Salem's Lot. Pet Sematary I thought was good. Needful Things, my personal favorite of his horror novels under Stephen King, was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Which movie?
Needful Things by Stephen King.
I don't remember. I'm not sure what that one is.
Terrible movie. Terrible
is it?
movie. Terrible. And it's my favorite of his books under the name Stephen King.
So if Stephen King has an online class, it's not at masterclass.com.
Oh. I know he does a masterclass, and I know even if he's not doing one right now, he does have the best-selling How to Write book. Stephen King's book on writing. And I know he has a class, but it may be through a different online learning.
Yes. Yeah, he probably does, and it'd be through someone else, but it's not at masterclass.com. I have a membership at Masterclass, and I just look for him and find him.
But even Neil Gaiman will tell you Stephen King is one of the people that helps inspire him. J.K. Rowling will tell you that. Um, eh,
That's a name that's not safe to drop anymore.
yeah. Um, you know, what's uh, Queen of the Damned stuff? I can't think of her name now. But did the interview with the vampire and all those.
And Rice?
Anne Rice will tell you that Stephen King was a big inspiration for her. There are a lot of modern authors that will tell you that Stephen King's book on writing changed their careers and really made them the professional writers that they are today. Almost everybody that I know that's a writer will tell you that that's one of the best books you could ever read. And so, if you want a good example of his non-horror writing, because genre writing is one thing, but being able to write for everybody, check out The Shawshank Redemption. And if you don't want to read the book, because some people don't have time to read a book, in this case, you're not going to lose anything by watching the movie, because the movie is exemplary, and of course, it has a wonderful cast. And so, my From the Vault recommendation this time around is The Shawshank Redemption, what IMDb calls the best movie of all time. So, that's saying something. The number one rated movie of all time, according to the International Movie Database. That's really something to see. And that's my recommendation from the vault. We're going to go into a really quick thing for the.
Are we going into the CW verse now?
CW verse, but let me see.
Or Berlanti verse? I think we only have one show to talk about, right? The Flash?
Yeah, we really only have one show to talk about. And you shared with me some masterclass.
Yeah, I sent you a link for a free 14-day trial to masterclass.
Yeah, because I never did use that last one. The last one you sent, I never ended up using. Because I wasn't sure if me or Allison was going to use it, and we never decided when we had time to use it before it expired.
Yeah, this one expires on the 27th.
Of this month?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll let Allison know we've got another 14-day one.
So
see if there's something we want to go to.
So activate it before the 27th, and then you'll have 14 days to try it out and get what you can out of it.
Yeah, I might do it just to do Gaiman's class. Now that I have a specific class in mind, it'll let you do however many classes for that 14 days.
I think so.
Yeah, so me and Allison might both use it. I just got to talk with her and double check. Okay, but we're going to go into our CW verse now. And for those who don't know, spoiler alert. This is a spoiler zone. So if you don't want to hear spoilers about what happened last week on The Flash specifically, because that's really the only show we're covering this week, then say goodnight right now and come back and watch the replay of this show after you watch The Flash. And if The Flash is the only real show that had a new one this week in the CW verse that we're watching, because the other new show that started with The Flash is the new Kung Fu, and I haven't started watching the second season of that yet, but it's not part of the Berlanti verse, so it wouldn't be part of this show anyway, although that's not to say it's not a great show to watch. The only other thing I would mention is they did their first time travel in Picard this week, so do go in and watch Picard on Amazon. It's the third episode. They did not have an episode of The Ready Room with Will Wheaton afterwards this week for some reason, but go check that out as well. But they did travel back to 2022, and they even mentioned James T. Kirk and the slingshot maneuver around the sun as the method of time travel. before doing it. As Picard said, that's an example of what they did. But that's all I'm going to mention about Picard this week, because we've only got about 10, 11 minutes left, and we're going to go into the Flash about that. Now, this week in the Flash, we get what's his name, Goldface.
Yes.
For some reason, I wanted to call him Goldmember, but that was Austin Powers. But Goldface is the villain, and what happens is they start the episode with the Flash catching a bad guy and dropping him off at CCPD, and the new captain of the police, booking him, but kind of complaining that she needs better communication with the Flash because she doesn't know what to book him with, what was his crimes, and when Barry hears this, and he mentions it to Joe and Cecile, and then we're like, well, it's true. I mean, when I was with the police force, I had an in with you because, and that helped quite a bit. And Cecile says, yeah, and when I was trying to prosecute somebody, I had a direct link to you too, and it may not be a bad idea to give her one of the watch communications or that phone app that you guys do for the meta alert, so that we could have some communication with her. And she was like that. And then Goldface takes over CCPD and does it with a gas attack first. And then everybody wakes up with these. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I was saying that Barry had to work late so he could help the new captain put together the evidence for these criminals that the Flash brought in.
Right. And then Goldface comes in and he uses this gas attack. And when they all wake up, they've all got power dampening bracelets on. And that's because... of course, the captain had publicly come out with her metahuman power of a mimic. And because she's got a metahuman power, he's like, well, that means that I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other members of the force here might secretly have a power too. So he went ahead and put a power dampening cuff on each of them. And it's kind of where basically they're going to burn to a crisp if they activate their metahuman powers.
Yeah.
So
they're explosive too.
Yeah, they're little explosive devices. And so, and what he's there for is to get the metahuman cure gun that CCPD had developed when she was running the anti-metahuman task force. She'd had this gun developed that basically took away metahuman powers. And so Goldmember and his girlfriend had arranged a buyer for this gun, and so they're in their CCPD trying to steal this gun, and they're trying to find where it is. It's trying to get the captain to reveal where it is, and she's not telling him. And he recognizes Barry from when Barry infiltrated his gang as the chemist, and Barry admits he was working undercover. And as they get separated from the rest of the cops in another room,
undercover for Team Flash, not undercover for the law enforcement.
Yeah. But luckily, Joe was the captain at that time, so later on it could be the same thing. Joe could put it in the file that way. But they get separated, and at one point, Barry notices. First off, he makes the intuitive leap that that's the main reason why the captain is trying to get a hold of the Flash and have a better communication. Is because she wants the Flash to teach her how to use her metahuman abilities. She's never had anybody to train her, and she has no real control over her abilities. And the Flash notices that her bracelet's not powered on anymore. And he, being the scientist that he is, figures out that her mimicry power is so variable and activates every time she, unconsciously, when she gets close to different metas and its power signature changes, it burned out the cuff, because the cuff couldn't keep up with the different powers that she was getting as she got close to all these different metahumans and subconsciously pulled their powers. Plus, of course, they never mention it, but him being Goldface, you know that the cuff has got some gold in it somewhere, and with her taking Goldface's power, that probably had something to do with it too, although that wasn't mentioned.
Yeah.
But so she's able to take off her cuff, and Barry sends her out to go deal with Goldface with a pep talk on how she can use her gold powers to counter Goldface. And he's like, "Don't worry, and I'll work on getting this bracelet off of me, and then I'll go try to get some help." And of course, once she's out of the room, he can manage to break the cuff and run out of the way before it explodes, so that he doesn't die from the cuff, because of course he's the Scarlet Speedster. And the gist of it is they end up catching Gold. I still want to keep calling him Goldmember. Goldface gets caught, and there's a few different scenes where he's talking on the phone with his girlfriend, and he's got this lovey-dovey kind of stuff going on. It's kind of cute, but it shows that Goldface is in love and everything, but they catch Goldface, and then Barry, as the Flash, gives her a phone device with the phone app so she can contact him, and uses this as an excuse that he's got more trust in her and everything. And then he says, "I'm going to trust you with my real identity." And she's like, "Barry, I know it's you." And he says, "How'd you figure it out?" He says, "Well, or when did you figure it out?" He says, "Well, when I went in and saw the burnt edges of that cuff, and I realized that only a speedster could get away from that cuff before it exploded." So, so now she's in the fold. So that means we're going to have less of the keeping it from the boss conflict thing, which is always easier on the Flash. So it really helps the Flash as much as it helps her. But it means that he still has to worry about staying on the right side of the law in all situations. But that's okay, since Barry's one of the ultimate goody two-shoes in the DC universe. He's very much the most Boy Scouty character
in this Berlanti-verse.
In the Berlanti-verse, yeah. Even more so than Clark. He gets pretty Boy Scouty. And that's the synopsis of the Flash in a nutshell. I mean, Lurch is welcome to add any extra details I might have missed. I don't like to take the whole thing off of his plate.
Yeah, I think you got like all the really critical stuff, except there was a very end tease at the end of the episode with Iris and her dad.
Oh, yeah.
They're having dinner, and then suddenly it's like she loses time because suddenly her dad is like he goes upstairs to check on his baby. Then suddenly he's coming in from outside with a box. And like the dinner is cleaned up, or coming in from the garage, and then like the table's all cleaned up and stuff, and she's thinking that she just had a blackout or something, but we're witnessing it as like some kind of green, apparition is taking everything away, like the still force. And so I think she's experiencing some kind of sickness or something caused by
dilation,
some sort of weird time dilation related to the still force. But it also could be related to the kids from the future messing with the past.
And I do know from other web shows that focus on the Berlantiverse and news of upcoming stuff that, among other things, Dion is expected to be back this season for a little bit.
Yeah.
the
I mean,
still
it's
force avatar.
yeah. Yeah, as soon as I saw that color greens, mixy stuff, I was like, okay, so I couldn't remember his name, but I was like, the Steel Force guy is
Yeah.
going to be coming back at some point.
So Dion is expected to come back. I also know that because a side thing was
Oh
Caitlin,
yeah,
Caitlin and the dating thing
yeah,
with Frost, and now that she's agreed to start dating, I know that Robbie Raymond is supposed to be coming back. Some version of Robbie Raymond,
yeah,
who was Caitlin's fiance.
yeah.
So,
So what I'm predicting here is we're going to see Caitlyn finally get into like the startings of a promising relationship with someone else, and then somehow her ex who died that caused her this grief to not date ever again will show up.
causing
And
this
yeah,
great emotional conflict,
yeah,
which is one thing that they're well known for in the Belantiverse, is the emotional conflict.
yeah.
The Flash is especially good at the emotional conflict part of everything.
Phew.
And a lot of times it's more about the characters than the superpowers, but at least they have a good dose of superpowers still in every episode. Unlike Naomi, where they don't do much. uh,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much the Flash for this week. There's a lot of stuff supposed to be going on. Um, we still don't know what all is coming up in the future for the week. We do know that it's going to be broke down into a couple of graphic novels this season. That's what they call the chapters of the Berlantiverse Flash shows are graphic novels because they're
No, yeah.
kind of based like the graphic novels in the comic books. There's going to
Makes
be a
sense.
couple of there's going to be a couple of graphic novels, and then there's supposed to be as many as 4 episodes without much Barry at all. The first episode may have been the first of those 4 episodes. Although Barry shows up, it's mostly like stock stuff that they. So I don't know if Grant Gustin even had to be on set at all for the first episode after Armageddon. But otherwise, there's supposed to be 2 or 3 graphic novels worth of plot lines that they're going to go pretty hot and heavy with throughout the season. And among other things, we're kind of due for another epic crossover of some kind, especially as it being the anniversary of when the Berlantiverse started. It's the 10th anniversary of the Berlantiverse. So expect some kind of crossover over and above what Armageddon was, because Armageddon was not billed as a crossover; it was billed as a Flash event.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see just even a little bit of extra cameo from like Black Lightning, Supergirl, Martian Manhunter, Alex, or the much anticipated Stargirl crossover. Because it has been said that Stargirl is in the Berlantiverse, but on a different Earth. So I really want to see Stargirl interact with Flash. Um, and that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm chomping at the bit for. Knowing Lurch, he's probably in the same boat as me. And then, of course, one of the great bridges of the crossovers is the Legend of Tomorrow. And anytime we can get the Legend of Tomorrow in with the other guys, I'm all for it, because those really add an extra pound of spice to the mix. This week we will have new Lois, Superman and Lois. We'll have a new Naomi, but whether or not we cover it will depend on the episode. Because, like we said, unless the episodes start picking up and giving us some real fight scenes and stuff, we're probably not going to go into the Naomi as much anymore, especially since it's not even supposed to be part of the Berlanti verse per se. So we'll see with that. We'll see a new Legends. Oh no, Legends Tomorrow. We actually had their finale now, so we're done with Legends of Tomorrow for this season. Um, we're not due for anything new to premiere for a little while.
Any new media for a little while?
Not on the Berlanti verse anyway. I mean, we got Superman and Lois and the Flash for the next couple of months.
Oh, yeah.
Stargirl is not meant to premiere until like what, August?
I'm not sure, but I know that they just finished, like I said, mentioned earlier, they just filming the third season.
Yeah,
So they got to do all the editing and post-production stuff.
yeah. I'm thinking it's they're not announcing it, but a lot of the speculators are
Oh.
saying probably around August, September, because that's when it's premiered before when they did it like this. Which would be convenient because that's about right when Superman and Lois and the Flash will be rounding down.
Yeah.
It would be time to bring something else, and hopefully, opposite Stargirl when it starts will be another one of the new ones, either the DCU one with Diggle or the Gotham Knights one will premiere at the same time. Hopefully. As far as other media goes, we've got Moon Knight starting at the end of this month. The Netflix Marvel shows are all officially on Disney now, with additional interviews with Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox, confirming that they are being brought in fully into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that there's a big potential for another season of Daredevil being shot, but it won't be shot until sometime after the Echo series premieres, because they're going to have guest spots on Echo, which of course Echo is a lieutenant of the Kingpin of Crime, and it has been confirmed that the Kingpin did not die at the end of Hawkeye.
Who didn't die at the end? Who didn't die?
Kingpin. Kingpin.
Kingpin.
Even though it
Yeah.
looked like Echo shot him, he did not die. He will be back.
Yeah.
So
If they in the comics, that exact thing happened in the comics where she shot him in the face, but he survived, but was blinded by it, and then
yeah, and that's supposed to be ironic because the fact that the Daredevil is blind, and
yeah,
now
and I
his
think
chief enemy's now blind for a little bit,
yeah, exactly.
but his blindness is temporary.
Yes,
Uh,
I think it's only temporary because he uses his resources to have experimental procedure done to give him his vision back or whatever.
Which, if anybody's got the resources to do it, it's the Kingpin of Crime.
Oh,
So we are definitely going to see more of Charlie Cox as Daredevil and more of Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. That has been confirmed. The rumor mill also has it that we're definitely going to be seeing, but these are rumors, so even though I say the word definitely, these are definite maybes. The Punisher, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones are also on the thing. The only one that's not looking like they're going to get more is the original Iron Fist. But as it was the most panned of all of them, that's okay. What they're looking for is probably a new Iron Fist. And there's even talk about having the new Iron Fist, because you have to kill a dragon in order to get the Iron Fist as the last part of the ceremony. So if the new Iron Fist goes up against the dragon of Shang-Chi, that could put the Iron Fist in conflict with Shang-Chi.
Mm.
And so that's the thing. And what came up in one of the interviews I saw about that was uh, Iron Fist's sidekick in the Iron Fist TV show, The Girl, was originally the one they wanted to cast as Shang-Chi's sister in the Legend of the Ten Rings. But she refused partly because of scheduling conflict, but also because she didn't want to burn the bridge of possibly playing her character from Iron Fist again, because they're both in the Marvel potential cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And so that's yet another kind of backdoor inference that more and more of the
She was great in Iron Fist.
yeah, well,
I'd
everybody
love to have
loved
her come
her.
back.
Everybody loved
Yeah.
her. They just were
Yeah.
not big on the
Look,
Wasp
give me give me a whole 6 episode series, miniseries about her.
right.
She was
Well,
awesome.
and she'd be a great one to usher in a new Iron Fist.
Yeah.
That would be a great way to introduce a new Iron Fist into the mix, because Danny Rand just didn't come over very well. I didn't mind Danny Rand personally, but I was in the minority. A lot of people did not like Danny Rand, and part of it was the accusations of cultural appropriation. Although really, considering the source material, it wasn't cultural appropriation, but still, it's it'll be interesting to see where they go forward from here. Also, more talk of Phil Coulson and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. getting revivified in some way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Basically, all of these shows getting under the primary Marvel umbrella and directly under Kevin Feige instead of under the subheading of Marvel TV that they used to be under, and in cooperation with things like Netflix and Freeform and stuff, means that more and more interactive crossover between movies and TV will become possible, which has me really excited. There were some great shows in the Marvel canon of TV shows that I would love to see spun into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would like to see, and there's no talk about it, but I'd love to see them bring the Runaways into canon. I would love to see The Gifted come into canon. I would love to see Freeform's Cloak and Dagger come into canon for the Marvel
That's on
Cinematic
Disney
Universe.
Plus now.
Cloak and
Cloak and
Dagger is.
Dagger is.
They
Yeah.
got
It's on Disney Plus.
the Freeform contract ended too. See,
Yeah.
they're
But
pulling them
weirdly,
all together.
they just announced the Incredible Hulk will be appearing in April on HBO Max, not on Disney Plus.
That could be a sub-licensing thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I want to see is more and more, and then I want to see more and more of these side projects come to fruition. I mean, we've got the Multiverse of Madness coming out here in May, and we know that the Illuminati are going to be introduced in the Multiverse of Madness, and we've got that little temptation teaser of Professor Xavier in the clip. But there are so many members of the Illuminati that could expand the Marvel Universe from the Dark Doctor Strange to Reed Richards finally being introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to Namor finally being introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Namor was one of the Illuminati. Um, a different version of Captain America could be on the Illuminati, although he had one of the shortest runs in the Illuminati, because he was, of course, against a lot of these backrooms dealings that the Illuminati did, so that at the end of Cap's run in the Illuminati, they basically voted him off the island and had his memories removed in the comic books. So Captain America doesn't even remember the Illuminati exists. We could have a cameo from a different version of Iron Man show up, because the Iron Man is a big part of the Illuminati. Wolverine has been in the Illuminati. Spider-Man has been in the Illuminati. The King of Wakanda, aka the Black Panther, has been in the Illuminati. The Illuminati has included so many things. The Hulk himself has been not only a member of the Illuminati, but also on trial by the Illuminati, which is why he got kicked off planet, and that gave us Planet Hulk later on. The Planet Hulk run was purely because the Illuminati kicked the Hulk off planet. So there's so many different characters that could potentially be in the Illuminati. Kang the Conqueror could be a member of the Illuminati in one of his other incarnations. The Black Knight could be, or Captain Carter is possibly going to take the place of Captain Britain's spot in the Illuminati. So there's so many potentials out there, and we're waiting to see what happens with the Multiverse of Madness, because that's going to really tell us more of what to expect to come, because we know at some point in the new phase of Marvel movies, we are going to get a Fantastic Four movie. We know that among other Illuminati members, Medusa and Black Bolt have been members of the Illuminati, which means the Inhumans might come back under Feige instead of under Marvel TV, which is a blessing, because the TV show was not great. It was not.
Which show?
Schlock, the Inhumans.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't.
I was so looking forward to that show. I went to the IMAX to watch the premiere, and it
fell flat.
Yeah,
and it was terrible, because I was really because Medusa is a guilty pleasure character for me. I always liked the character of Medusa, even though she's not as all powerful as some Marvel characters. She's just got prehensile hair. But Medusa is still such a great, interesting character.
Yeah, although her in the comics, her prehensile hair is very powerful. It's a very effective weapon. It's
really strong.
I think it's supposed to be practically indestructible, and
it's about as strong as at least Spider-Man's webbing. It is. Yeah. And so it's kind of it's kind of on par with like Spawn or Ghost Rider's chains, Venom's webbing, kind of really strong, kind of you don't want to mess with her kind of thing. So Medusa's pretty bad, and of course Black Bolt is so powerful that he's not supposed to speak most of the time, because just an utterance of his voice could destroy the planet. And so Inhumans are really, really powerful. Even the giant bulldog that can teleport. Lockjaw.
Yeah.
Which I think is a cute character. He's a cute character.
Lockjaw's great. I love Lockjaw.
And Lockjaw and Crystal are just a perfect partnership.
Did you still get this? Lockjaw developed his powers before he was born, right? The Inhuman scientists put cryogenesis inside his mother's womb while she was pregnant with puppies, and it gave Lockjaw super intelligence and teleportation, and is also gave all of his siblings powers as well. And you could hear the scientists outside talking how they were going to kill all the other pups except for the one. And Lockjaw understood that, and he uses teleportation to teleport all the pups out of the womb to other places in the world, into alternate dimensions and universes, places where they'd be safe.
Yep.
And before he
Took care
came
of his
back and was
siblings.
born as the only, yeah, he saved all of his siblings and then teleported himself back into the womb to be born as the only puppy to be actually born. And
Now that's a good big brother right there.
yeah, and that was God, it was like a I think it was a 3 comic book long story arc that I read that was a surprisingly touching comic.
Right.
You know,
And
whenever
the Inhumans are a great subset of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they were originally introduced cinematically on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, when they talked about it. And then we got the short-lived Inhuman TV show, which, like we said, fell flat. But it had such potential to cross over with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because of the fact that Inhumans had been introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And quite frankly, Lockjaw and Crystal as a partnership are a great duo from the Inhumans. You know, since Crystal was the primary caretaker of Lockjaw, she kind of treated Lockjaw as her personal pet, even though he was super intelligent. He was still as far as she was concerned, he was still her pet.
yeah. I mean, Lockjaw's a pet. He's super intelligent for a dog.
Right, but he's
But
still a pet to Crystal.
yeah, he's still a dog. He's still a pet. He's primarily Black Bolt's dog that Crystal spends a ton of time with and
Crystal's the caregiver
is very
for.
close.
Crystal's
But
like his
yeah,
dog sitter. Yeah.
the reason why Lockjaw had those experiments done on him is the scientists wanted to see if it could be done to create a more powerful Inhuman if it was done in the moon. And once they proved it working on the dog, they then did the same treatment to Black Bolt's mother while she was pregnant with Black Bolt, so that Black Bolt was born with his powers. And that's part of why he's so much more powerful than the other Inhumans, is because he was at birth had his shouting power.
And that's why they both have that weird antenna.
Yeah.
They're linked.
Yeah, the two are linked. They grew up together.
They're both marked with that tuning fork antenna. But
Mm-hmm.
there are so many great teams and subsets in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was watching something else earlier today about the truth behind the X-Men cartoon from the 80s, because they've been trying to get the lady that brought the X-Men cartoon to TV had been trying as a passion project to do that for a while, and she couldn't get any of the networks to get behind it, even though she talked to Stan Lee. But she was the person who had helped bring the Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and some of these other shows to TV. And then Fox came out as a new network, and she was made the director of kids programming for Fox Network. So what's the first show she greenlit? The
I think
X-Men cartoon.
it wasn't the Spider-Man cartoon, because I think Spider-Man was first, wasn't it?
The first one she greenlit was her passion project, which was the X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, that
But
was
then it took
92.
and it took them a while to actually get the cartoon out, because they had to. A lot of the writers and stuff weren't familiar with the initial source material, and they had to decide which characters they could use, which they couldn't, which had been sub-licensed to other people, which storylines would work good in a serialized kids show as opposed to the much more adult-themed stuff that was in the X-Men comic books. And I mean, they were told there's certain cast of characters that had to be there. Professor Xavier, Cyclops, Jean Grey, they had to be in the show.
Yeah.
Wolverine had to be in the show. But then other characters like Storm was added because they thought her weather power would go over good in a cartoons. It would be an easy one to portray in the cartoons as a powerful mutant ability. And they were right. That was a really easy one for them to do.
Yeah.
Rogue was a good emotional character. Rogue was a good emotional character because they were not touching anybody. Plus, having super strength and flight were good standard superpowers. Which means, of course, it was after she had absorbed part of Captain Marvel's powers, but they didn't actually go into that in the cartoon. Until much later.
I was gonna say sometime later they did address that.
Near
they
like the last season, I think they mentioned it.
Yeah, it was like her having a guilty conscience for doing that to Captain Marvel or something.
Yeah, but in the beginning they didn't explain it at all.
Yeah,
and then
me growing up, I thought that was just a part of her natural power set.
A lot of people did because of how that was portrayed in the cartoon. And if you didn't first encounter him in the comic books like I did, then you were looking at the cartoon and thinking, oh, okay, not only can she absorb people's powers, but she can fly and she's super strong. Just naturally. Yeah. And then the other character that was interesting they talked about was Morph. And Morph was decided to be used specifically as a touching person to die off quickly for Wolverine to say, let's do it for Morph. Because, of course, right after the very first two-parter, which was the Rise of the Sentinels plotline that opened up the cartoon, Morph dies. And at the near the end of it, there's a scene where Wolverine says, let's do it for Morph. And so that was another thing that was interesting from that cartoon. And they are bringing back the X-Men cartoon with new episodes. Is something else that's supposed to be coming to the Disney Plus soon. But another thing they had a hard time was coming up with the voice actors for that show because it was going to be a kids' cartoon show, and all of the voice actors that typically did those kids' cartoon shows kept trying to go silly with the voices because that's what they expected that was wanted. And they didn't want to go silly with the X-Men. They wanted the X-Men to be dramatic for kids, but dramatic and stuff. And it took a special blend to come up with a lot of the voices for the X-Men show. Specifically, like Wolverine, the guy they got to play Wolverine's voice was told to kind of base it on Steve McQueen. And so he based it on Steve McQueen with a little bit of Clint Eastwood, and just a little bit of growl in there at the end, and that's what became so iconic as Wolverine's voice, and it was so compelling that there was a depressed kid that wrote the voice actor. He was going to commit suicide. And the actual not wanting to miss the next episode of the X-Men is what pulled him off of a roof. And he wrote the voice actor to say that to that voice actor. Now, whether he was being overly dramatic or not, because usually the people that do commit suicide are the ones that don't talk about it. But if so, that was a powerful thing, was that compelling voice, and it became the most iconic. Everybody visualizes the voice of Wolverine now based on that cartoon. Just to show you what kind of impact a cartoon can have on a young mind. And it was so highly anticipated so that the first episode aired not at its normal Saturday morning time, but at like 7 o'clock prime time. they aired the very first episode because they were so anticipatory of the X-Men cartoon. And that's a heck of a lot more background information than probably some of you even wanted. But it's a passion thing for me. I love the X-Men. And that's just to show you, I love the different teams and things because the Marvel Universe has been going and going for so many years. And they've built so many titles and brands and teams out of the Marvel Universe that there's so much room for them to expand this shared universe. I mean, more and more shared universes are coming out in the movies. I mean, we've got the Fast and Furious franchise out now. We've got, of course, DC is trying to get the franchise that really works. And I still say if they stuck with the Snyderverse continuity, they would have one that really worked. There's the verse that includes the Jupiter group. There's the Boys on Amazon.
Yeah.
Which is
Hey,
coming into the third season soon.
I hate to cut you off, but we're at 10:30, and
Yeah.
I need to get going.
Yeah, sorry. When I get on my diatribes, I love the sound of my own voice, and there's just so much happening for us here. But we do want to bid you all adieu. We'll see you next week with a fresh take on Superman and Lois and the Flash, and some new happenings in the Nerdosphere. We'll talk about definitely some new video games, maybe some Kickstarter projects, and another recommendation from the vault. On behalf of myself and Lurch,
Yo.
and
you guys next time.
In the sentiment of Mortal Kombat, finish him. Fatality. Game over. Good night, everybody.
Bye.